Good morning, Form 3s. Welcome back on board for this online teaching program, specially designed for you, our semi-candidate class. Today we're dealing with the English language, and as you might be able to see behind me, I've written the topic. It is summary writing review. We're going to deal with summary writing. First of all, we are concentrating on reminding ourselves on what are the things we should always do when we're given a summary question. I know some of you still remember this, others might have forgotten, so we're going to start with basic reminders. So on your platform, we have posted a document titled Summary 1. I want you to be referring to it as I go through it. You can click on it, open the document titled Summary 1. I hope all of you can see it, and it's what I'm going to deal with. So the important things we're doing on summary writing are few, but very important. First, we know that when you're dealing with summary, we're expected to compress the information or the ideas that were given in a passage. You're supposed to compress them to a given number of words. Those words are given to us by the question. And when we are compressing or reducing, we don't reduce anyhow, but the message must be kept intact. In other words, we should not distort the message. So these are the things we need to note. One, we say before you start writing a summary, and we always start with having got the points, the notes, we always start with the title. The title summarizes the main idea in the question, and it is what you should select. Your title should be based on what the question is asking you to do. Don't choose a title from anywhere. Always think of what the question wants you to do, and the wording of your title must be borrowed from the question. Also about the title must also be above the paragraph. It must be centered, and you must underline the title. The second important aspect is the question of indented paragraphs. You will remember that we say that an indented paragraph is that which starts a few inches from the margin. If this is your page, we expect you, where you see this X and all this space is empty, that's an example of an indented paragraph. It should start a few inches from, if I'm facing the body to be on the left-hand side margin, it should be a few inches from there. Don't write block paragraphs in summary. So when we're dealing with indented paragraphs, that is the sample. Then when I talk of block, if this is your margin, this is another margin, this is your page, a block paragraph is one that flows like that. There is no space. Then you leave a gap. You skip lines. All that is an example of a block paragraph. So for summary writing, this is what we need to know. Indented paragraphs and the title are the important things we need to do. Thirdly, the other basic, which we should not forget, is what we call the subject. Many people get confused. They do not seem to know what a subject is. A subject, in summary, we're not looking at a subject, history, geography, chemistry, physics, name it. No. When I talk of subject here, I mean a person or a thing. For the case of the summary, it is a thing or the idea that we are discussing, the idea that we are describing, or the idea that we are dealing with. So in summary, your first sentence must include that idea that the question wants us to discuss. If the question wants us to summarize reasons why children do not listen to their parents, we expect you to say something dealing with those reasons. Give us an idea of the main subject in your opening sentence, as we shall see in a demonstration later. Then also each sentence of your summary answer, each sentence of your summary answer must carry the subject. Either at the beginning, it must have the subject at the beginning of the sentence, or you must have the subject at the end of the sentence. So we have said three things here. One, your first sentence in your summary answer, whether it is the rough copy or the fair copy, must include the subject. We have said the subject is that main idea that you are discussing, describing, or dealing with in your answer. The second thing we said, the subject for all the other sentences that appear in your summary paragraph, the subject must appear in the second sentence, third sentence, fourth sentence, either at the beginning or the end. The fourth important aspect is the tense. From your knowledge of English grammar, you know that we have very many tenses: the past simple, the present simple, we have the future tense, present continuous, we have the past perfect, name it. So as students of English language, you have to be careful as to which tense is in that summary question that you are going to deal with. Is it the present tense? Is it the past tense? Is the question set in the future tense? Is it set in the past perfect tense? So whichever tense the question is set is the same tense that we expect you to use in your answer. I hope I've made myself clear on that. The tense that you use, that is used in the question, is the same tense you must use in the answer. If, for example, a summary question is something like, describe the steps taken when making or baking a cake, don't write that the steps one should take or the steps one took. It should be the steps taken when baking, not the steps one took when baking, or the steps one is to take when baking. Remember, the question is What are the steps taken, or describe the steps taken when baking a cake? Therefore, your answer should be the steps taken when baking a cake are, okay, something like that. So be careful about the tense. Another important aspect, which I don't want us to ignore, is the issue of punctuation. As students and learners of English language, punctuation will either make your day or it will spoil it. Punctuation, in summary, is important like in all other aspects of the English language subject. But when we're dealing with punctuation, in summary, we majorly focus on two things. One, the beginning of every sentence, of course, must start with a capital letter. The beginning of every sentence must start with a capital letter. Every new sentence, that rule you know very well. In addition, the capital letter, of course, will be put to names of people, of places, probably geographical features if they are there in your summary question. In other words, use the capital letter as it should be used in all other situations of English language. Then, a very important aspect about punctuation is the use of the comma. I'm reminding you that when we're dealing with the comma in summary writing, do not exceed 3. Do not exceed 2 commas, sorry. Do not exceed 2 commas in a given sentence. Every sentence you write should have a maximum of 2 commas. The moment you go beyond the second comma, and you start using the third, fourth, and fifth comma, you will be spoiling your answer. Remember, summary is about limitation. We are limiting you number of words. You don't want it to so many words. So you need to compress the ideas by also paying attention to how you compress your summaries. Are we together on that? So I'll give an example here. Let's say the moon, the sun, the stars, the planets, and other, let's call them celestial objects. Make the universe. Then you can write the same sentence and say, the moon the sun, the stars, and planets make the universe. Other celestial objects also make the universe. So look at those two sentences. The first one says, the moon, the sun, the stars, the planets, and other celestial objects make the universe. It makes sense somehow. The second sentence, the moon, the sun, the stars and planets make the universe. Then we have added other celestial objects also make the universe. So for purposes of summary writing, that is 1, 2, the third comma, whereas here we have 1, 2 commas. So in summary writing, that would be a better paragraph. It will make your sentence clear. Compared to what we are seeing here, we said we are not allowed to use more than 2 summaries. 2 commas. When you do this, you will be penalized because the meaning may somehow be distorted. So all the other ideas that come after the second paragraph, after the second comma rather, you will simply be getting half a mark. Yet here you will get a tick there, you get a tick there, you get a tick there. You get a tick here. Are we together? So that is the danger of using more than 2 commas. So having mentioned those basics, I want us to understand the last bits of the basics before we go through the passage, is that the number of words must be indicated at the end of your summary, and also the number of words are determined by the question that you are given. In that section which I've titled the language of summary questions in the document which we call summary 1, we are saying, for example, in not more than very many words. So if you get a question, I'm reminding you that if you get a question that says no more than 50 words, it means that the maximum number of words must be 50. Don't write 60, don't write 70, don't write 51 words. The maximum number of words must be 50 if the question says in not more than 50 words. On the other hand, if the question says in about 50 words, here you will estimate. You can go up to around maybe 45 words. You can go up to 55 words. You can do exactly 50 words. You can do 51, 52, 53, or 47, 48, 49 words. All that is allowed, provided you don't go too far down or too far up. So whenever the question is in about so many words, give yourself a target of probably -5 words or an extra 5 words. I hope I am clear on that. Okay. So now I want us to look at a demonstration passage. It's about a group of people called the pygmies. The pygmies we know are, you may know, are very short people. They are unique because of their physical makeup. They are very short, and they were commonly known to exist in forests of the Congo what today we call the Democratic Republic of Congo. The most common forest is the Ituri forest, and this is where one of the pygmy groups exists, the Mbuti people, as they are called. So, in that passage, I've given you two questions. The first question is in not more than 80 words. Summarize why Turnbull thinks Mbuti pygmies value the forest. Turnbull is, for your information, the writer of that article. He was giving his views on the life of the Mbuti pygmies and showing why they value the forest. So your task is to simply give us the ideas of Turnbull. Why does he think that the forest is valued by the Mbuti pygmies? I also gave you a second question. In about 100 words, summarize the possible and immediate threats to the existence of the Mbuti pygmies. What are they threatened with? Or who or what is threatening them? What are the obstacles to their life? What challenges do they face? So, your duty, with my help, is to try and identify possible answers to those two questions. So we shall deal with one question before we move to the second. Together, I am not going to read the passage for you, but I would want to ask questions as I refer to certain paragraphs and certain sections. Number one, for question one, why Turnbull thinks the Mbuti pygmies value the forest? Why do they treasure it? Why do they think it is important? What are we going to do? Well, here we have to look now for sections which we'll highlight in the passage. Where is the value of the forest shown? I can give you a few ideas. When you go to the first paragraph, there is that part where it says the hunters and gatherers are dependent almost entirely on the natural products of the forest. Hunters and gatherers are almost depending on the natural products of the forest. That is a key point you need to note or think about. Probably when you go to the second paragraph, there is nothing of importance. Instead, we have a threat. But scroll down to the third paragraph. The first sentence of the third paragraph, you are told that the life of the pygmies is closely adapted to the special conditions of the forest. The life of the pygmies is adapted to the special conditions of the forest. I think that is a plus or a value. When you move down in the same paragraph, there is a section of the paragraph that begins with only one main road cuts through the forest. It is about the middle of that paragraph. I hope you can see that. So above that sentence, only one main road cuts through the forest. There's a sentence that says, the Mbuti are rarely short of food, then they suffer less from malnutrition. I think that is another point we can consider. Under those words, only one main road cuts through the forest. There's also another section which I think is a point we should not ignore. So here, the point here is the sentence that begins with, they regard themselves as children of the forest. I think you will agree with me that that is a value. They regard themselves as children of the forest. They also refer to it as mother and father. Then also, we are told that it provides them with food, with shelter, with warmth, and affection, isn't it? So all those, remember the question was, what value do these pygmies get from the forest? I think those are the values. It is their place where they get food from. They cannot get food from anywhere else. It is their home. It is their shelter. It is their warmth. It is everything to them. So to me, that is one of the reasons Turnbull thinks that the forest is of value to the pygmies. Then move down the same passage. Go to the bottom of the second last paragraph, the paragraph that begins with social organization of the pygmies. In that last section of that paragraph, you are told that Turnbull points out that their greatest loyalty is to the forest, the provider of all that is good. And if anyone upsets the smooth running of a group, it is no more to remind him that it is the forest that he is really upsetting. So those are some of the key highlights. I want to turn to a presentation. I try to summarize those points in PowerPoint form. The first presentation is titled Why Turnbull Thinks the Mbuti Pygmies Value the Forest. As you might be able to see on your screen. So you've seen I've written the title, I've underlined it, it's in bold capital, and I'm getting my title straight from the question. The question was, summarize why Turnbull thinks Mbuti pygmies value the forest, and that's exactly what I've said. I've said why Turnbull thinks that Mbuti pygmies value the forest. So let's go to the selected points in the next slide. These are the things we've been trying to pick from the forest. They value the forest because they regard themselves as its children. And also, in the same slide, let's go to the PowerPoint slide. Why Turnbull thinks the Mbuti pygmies value the forest. The second one. Thank you. They regard themselves as its children. Then we have said they show great loyalty to it. That one is another part where I might get the answer from. We also say that the forest provides them with all that is good. The forest gives them warmth. It gives them shelter. It gives them food, affection, all year round. So it gives them warmth, shelter, affection, food all year round. Then remember the closing section of the paragraph was telling us that at the end of the passage, when one of the members of the group or anyone else outside the group upsets the forest or the smooth running of the forest, he would be reprimanded and be told that it is the forest that he is upsetting. So at the end of my lesson, you'll be free to go back to those slides to see how those points are developed. I don't want to go into the rough copy now, but I want us to pick some few ideas from the second question. Let's go back to summary 1 and see. The second question was, in about 100 words, that is the document in Word, which you titled summary 1. The very last part of what we posted, it says, in about 100 words, summarize the possible and immediate threats to the existence of the Mbuti pygmies. What are these threats? Again, they're according to the writer. Why does the writer think that these people are threatened? Give those ideas in 100 words, in about 100 words. Now, I will refer you to the second paragraph. You are told that in the same area where the pygmies live, there's a group of people called the cultivators. Their role is not to maintain the forest, but their role is to cut down trees. Remember, we said that the forest is the home of the pygmies. Therefore, anybody who cuts down these trees is disturbing their peace, and therefore it is threatening their existence. And that is why I'm taking that as a point, that the cultivators are a danger to the existence of the pygmies. Then, in the same paragraph, you are told that, to explain that point, you are told that the pygmies regard the cultivators as a threat to their existence. I hope you've seen that. That is now supporting our point that the cultivators are a danger to the existence of the pygmies. And when you go to the next paragraph, the one paragraph that begins with the life of pygmies, there is a point that says, therefore, it is not surprising that they regard the non-forest people with hostility and suspicion. The non-forest people here include the cultivators. It's another way of referring to them. They are looked at as being hostile. They are looked at with suspicion. To support that point, Turnbull says that it is very clear that the forest may not survive. He says the forest will be destroyed. And then he suggests that if the forest is destroyed, the pygmies cannot be accommodated in an environment that is not of the forest type. So that is telling you that the moment these people do not have their forest, they're going to find it very difficult to continue existing in the normal way. They'll face a lot of problems. Their existence will be threatened. Then finally, to that question, scroll to the very last paragraph. The one that begins with the pygmies are therefore. There is a sentence that begins with, but the forest is now threatened by exploitation. Do you see that? The forest is now threatened by exploitation from outsiders, whom the pygmies despise and distrust. That is one point. Then a supporting point is that the Mbuti are not well adapted to life outside the forest, meaning that if there's no forest, they will not be able to survive. Why? Because when they are removed out of the forest environment, they will die, and two things will kill them. One, you'll suffer from sunstroke. Sunstroke is the effect of intensive heat. Remember, if you're not under a tree, you don't have shelter, the sun is beating directly on your skin. It might affect you, but here it is affecting the Mbuti pygmies very badly because for them, they always used to be under the shades of the trees, but here the trees will be gone. The sun will give them a sunstroke. Then remember, in the same passage you were told, this paragraph is telling us that they were deriving their food from the forest. Remember that Buti were said to be hunters and gatherers, and whatever they hunted and gathered are from the forest. So all the foods, all the animals, the plants, the herbs that they ate are from the forest. But now you destroy the forest. Where will they get the food? So the moment they start eating food from other sources, they get stomach disorders, and that might also lead to their death, according to the writer Turnbull, and that is one of the other threats. So I'm turning now to the second slide, titled The Immediate and Possible Threats to the Existence of the Mbuti Pygmies. That slide answers or gives you points, some of the points for the second question, the immediate and possible threats to the existence of the Mbuti pygmies. So at the top of that slide, I've given you the title. I will not explain it. Already I've told you what kind of titles we should have. But let's go to the points. The first idea we are getting in the slide is that the first threat that endangers the survival of the Mbuti is the non-forest people. We call them the cultivators. Turnbull, the author, tells us that these cultivators actually fear the forest. They despise the forest. That is why they exploit it and destroy it. And when they exploit the forest, the next point is that they make the pygmies to look at them with hostility. Then after the hostility, the next slide shows that they not only look at them as act with hostility, but they look at them with suspicion. The pygmies distrust the invaders or the cultivators who are disturbing their peace. They despise them. They don't trust them. That is what we call the distrust. Then I've also added the point which Turnbull mentioned and which I referred to, that the forest is not likely to survive. When I said their habitat, the forest, will apparently be destroyed. I'm ending those slides with the message that when the forest is destroyed in not form, the lives of the pygmies are not well adapted to life outside the forest. And when they're outside the forest, on the third slide, we are told that when they're removed from the forest, two things will happen. They will either die from sunstroke, like I explained a bit earlier, or they will die from disorders of the stomach. So I know we're studying online, but if you are to print out that passage, those parts that I'm highlighting right now through the PowerPoint presentation is the section from the passage where you will derive your points from. Where are you getting your points from? These are the points you'll be underlining. They are the points that you will be focusing on or concentrating on. So before now you start thinking of writing the rough copy and the fair copy, let me remind you very quickly that now that you have the points, now that you have the ideas to those two questions I gave you, remember three things. As you write your rough copy, you need a good title, you need an indented paragraph, you need to know what subject you are going to use without listing. Give us the points, but do not list. Do not outline the points. Write them in a continuous, free flowing paragraph form. Your sentence should be a clear sentence of English. Don't make the ideas broken. Write a full sentence, properly punctuated. Remember 2 commas maximum, but get the correct ideas. That is one. Number two, for every sentence that supports the first sentence in the passage, every other sentence of the summary, you must find a way of including the subject. So now, those are the basics and sample I wanted to focus on. As a bonus for you, I'm not leaving a second summary question to challenge you to do on your own. But I want you to use these few minutes to think about that summary we have posted plus the questions. But for purposes of teaching, I have given you a bonus. Let us click on Summary 2, the document named Summary 2. Are we there? Now, when you look at the document named Summary 2, it has been, some sections have been highlighted in two colors. What you see in yellow, what has been highlighted in yellow are some of the sections of the points for the first question. Why the pygmies value the forest according to Turnbull. I've tried to give Turnbull's ideas by highlighting in yellow. Then the ones in green are answering the second question, question B. Those question B, if you missed them in the course of my teaching. Immediate and possible threat of the existence of the Mbuti. Now, when you scroll to the bottom of that document to Summary 2, I've given you two sample answers. Why Turnbull thinks the pygmies value the forest. You can see that I've used indented paragraphs. I've given it a title. I've put the subject. Look at question A. Why Turnbull thinks the Mbuti pygmies value the forest. Where is the subject? The subject is in why Mbuti Turnbull thinks that the Mbuti pygmies value the forest because that is my subject. In the second sentence, I've said the Mbuti pygmies value the forest because you see that. In the third sentence, I put another subject. Turnbull thinks the Mbuti pygmies value the forest because. So in all the sentences of your summary writing, we must have an idea of the subject. You can see that I've not broken my points in outline form. I'm writing a complete statement. So we expect the same from you. The statement must be full. The sentence must make meaning. We should not be left to guesswork, but we should be able to understand what you are saying. In that same sample answer A, why Turnbull thinks the Mbuti pygmies value the forest. I've had a sentence, I think it is, if I'm not mistaken, it is the second sentence, the Mbuti pygmies value the forest. I have used the examples of the commas. How many commas must we use? There are many ideas there, but I've used only 2 commas. I've said the pygmies value the forest because it gives them with warmth. There's a comma there, shelter, another comma, affection, and food all year round. I've maximized the 2. Sorry, I've used a maximum of 2 commas. So at the end of the summary, I have indicated the number of words. I found myself using 80 words, and I think I captured what are the basic points for the answers. Remember, the question was in not more than 80 words. Therefore, I was supposed to write between 75 to maximum of 80. If I had gone to 81 words, I'd be creating myself a problem. Now, for question B, the threats to the existence of the Mbuti pygmies, the second answer, sample answer. I've given you again the title, I've given you the indented paragraph. The question required you to summarize those threats in about 100 words. I went up to 95 words, which I think were still safe. Even with 100 words, you'd be safe. With 105 words, you'd still be safe. But you'd be endangering yourself if you went to maybe 110, 120, 130 words. Or maybe if you could only write 70 or 80 words, you'll be heavily penalized because you are far below or you are too far away from the recommended words. So for such a question of about 100 words, like we said at the beginning, it is safe to do 95, it is safe to do 100, it is safe to do 105 words, it is safe to do 97, 98, or 102, 103 words. As long as we are within that range, it is very safe. Lastly, the subject. The subject is on the immediate and possible threat. It is there in the first sentence, our topic sentence. The other second sentence begins with other immediate and possible threats to the existence of the Mbuti. We have given another idea of the subject there. So just as a reminder, the subject of the sentences is very important in summary writing. So that is where I will end for today. In due course, I shall be posting you other summary passages for your practice. But for today, I wanted us to remember the basics and also to see how we can sample some answers. Thank you for listening. Till next time, Assalamu alaikum.